One of the oftentimes unsung heroes of great video production is titles and graphics. Leave them out and your work will be average at best and at worst, downright boring. The most common type of graphic used to identify people and companies are lower thirds. We'll be looking at their purpose and design and take you step by step through their creation as well. With these basic skills and a bit of imagination, you'll soon see your work rise from the depths of mundane to the heights of audience-pleasing excellence. Lower thirds have a very simple purpose, which is to communicate to your audience information about the person or event that they're watching on screen. They get their information from their placement along the lower third of the viewing area. You'll find them identifying the reporter on your local news station, the forest in which the latest fire is raging, and the current score of the game you're watching. Usually lower thirds appear for a short while then fade away. In some cases where a person being interviewed on screen over a period of several minutes, the lower third may reappear occasionally to remind the audience exactly who this person is, what they do, and why their viewpoint may be important. Proper design is critical in achieving maximum lower third effectiveness. You want to draw an appropriate amount of attention to the lower third in order to convey the desired information without overpowering the primary content. But let's not just talk about it. Let's fire up our editing software and have a look at several important design considerations. Using the rectangle tool, draw a box across the bottom of the viewing area. It's okay to run off the screen at the ends. We're keeping it simple for illustration purposes, but on a real project and depending on your particular design, it may be desirable to keep both ends within the view or even to extend the box to no more than 1/2 to 2/3 of the way across the screen. It's important, this is an important thing to remember, here is to keep the lower third inside the safe title area. Text outside this area could disappear on televisions with thick bezels. Next, try reducing the opacity to allow the underlying video to show through just a little bit. With the Type tool, type the desired text over the top of the rectangle. In creating your text, readability is key. Choose a font that is generally easy to use. Now, speaking of fonts, sans serif fonts work the best for video. When choosing colors, use one that contrasts well with the background. White or light yellow against a dark background can work very well. Be sure to make sure your text is large enough to be seen on screen, but not so large that it will dominate the scene. When using multiple lines of text in your lower third, be sure to place the more important information on top and in bold with less important information underneath. Finally, adding a drop shadow to your text can make it pop right off the background, greatly enhancing its readability. Well, like text, backgrounds have as many variations as there are people to create them. They can be as simple as our rectangle with a solid color, or even a gradient with colors changing gradually from one to another over the length of the object. Pictures can also be used to create very effective lower thirds. A photo or a stock graphic may be sized and placed on one side of the lower third. Now, this may be a corporate logo or other appropriate images for added impact. Another interesting variation is to create lower thirds using video or a motion graphic. Now, this gives your design energy and can make the lower third look more professional. Theme is another very important consideration when designing lower thirds. Now, the main idea is to make sure it matches the rest of the video. For example, if your video is about a visit to the ocean, your lower third could contain an image or a video of seashells, crashing waves, or a jellyfish. The color choices should complement the colors one would find in the ocean water or sandy beaches. Text could be given a ripple effect so it moves gently with the waves. Many variations are possible, but just make sure it matches the theme of the overall project. Sound can add an important dimension to your lower third when used appropriately. It can give the lower third a sense of realism and action. Your ocean-themed lower third may be accompanied by the sound of crashing waves. Another popular choice is the digital typing sound effect used in many movies as text appears on screen. For a more subtle effect, a subdued tone, hum, or swish may accompany your lower third as it makes its appearance. Sounds may be purchased in quantity as part of sound effect libraries or downloaded individually from various websites. A quick internet search will reveal plenty of options. If you're feeling particularly adventurous or having difficulty finding just the right sound, you may want to go the Foley route or try recording your own. The important thing to remember, as with visual elements, is that any sounds you choose must also match the project thematically. Sound should always serve to help your graphics come alive and should never overpower or dominate what people are saying on screen. Communication should always come before design. Presentation of your lower third is the final consideration. Now that it's complete, how do you get it in and off the screen? Do you simply cut it in and grab your audience's attention, or do you take a more subtle route and use a dissolve to fade it in and out of view? So the answer lies in appropriateness. If the emotion of the production is very relaxed, a subtle fade in and out would work the best. If the emotion is highly energetic, then having the text move into frame would be appropriate. An easy way to make your titles interesting is to use the crop effect in reverse. Apply the crop effect to your lower third, and at the beginning of the clip, turn on the keyframing for the property that crops the right margin. Set this value at 100%. Now move the time indicator forward on the timeline to the place where you want the lower third to be fully visible, and change the right margin crop value to 0%. And when you're playing it through, your lower third will appear to unroll itself across the screen from left to right. If you're feeling adventurous, you could also add an edge feather to the animation in order to soften the edges. Pretty cool stuff, huh? And what about duration? Well, as with any text on screen, make sure it remains fully visible long enough for the average viewer to be able to read it 2 to 3 times before it goes away. That way, you'll be sure everyone receives the full benefit of all your hard work. Lower thirds are great ways to give your productions an air of professionalism and make them rise above the crowd. Take the tools we've given you and reference the many examples you'll find on television and online. Let your imagination run free, and soon you'll be making lower thirds that can impress and inform.